Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to break down this incredible framework for fearless communication. It's based on the teachings of a speaker named Frenchie Gamero and what he calls Power Evangelism. And really, it's all about one big shift, getting the focus off of our story and onto God's story. So let's just dive right in. It all starts with this one powerful question, a question that gets right to the heart of a huge dilemma the speaker was facing. See, he was doing everything he thought he was supposed to do, but something was just fundamentally off. I mean, this guy was on fire. He would share his personal story, his testimony, with literally anyone who would listen, on buses, on planes, in the street, you name it. But the response was always the same. People would just kind of nod politely and say, "Oh, good for you." It was leading to this deep frustration, not the transformation he was really hoping for. So all that frustration, it led to this huge, a light bulb moment. He suddenly realized, wait a minute, the problem isn't my passion. The problem is the story I'm telling. And that one idea, right there, became the foundation for his entire approach. And here's where it gets really interesting. He breaks it down into two different kinds of stories. First, you've got my story, my testimony. It's about me. It explains how I was changed. But then there's God's story, the gospel. And that's about, God. And that, he argues, is the story that actually has the power to change the person who's listening. Okay, so you've got the right message now. Problem solved, right? Well, not so fast. Because there's this other massive hurdle that trips almost everyone up. A huge emotional barrier that just keeps us silent. And what is it? It's that fear of judgment. It's shame. He describes it as a trap, like a snare that just completely paralyzes you. You get so worried about what other people might think of you that you just freeze up. You see nothing at all. So, how in the world do you break free from a trap like that? Well, his answer is kind of counterintuitive. It's not about trying to be less afraid. Nope. It's about being more of something else entirely. And that something else is passion. Just raw, genuine passion. Think about it. People are passionate about their sports teams, about celebrities, about all sorts of things, and they're not ashamed to talk about it. His point is, when your passion for your message becomes bigger than your fear of what people think, you just can't help but speak out. Okay, but this brings up a really important question. If God's story is the main message, then what do we do with our story? Do we just toss it out? Not at all. He completely reframes its purpose. Your personal story isn't the main event anymore. It becomes the bridge for a real human connection. And to explain how you actually build this bridge, he uses this really powerful analogy involving a tree. It perfectly illustrates the difference between our visible actions and our hidden wounds. So picture a tree. The fruits are the things everyone can see on the surface, the anger, the addictions, the behaviors. But that stuff doesn't come from nowhere, right? It grows from the roots. And the roots are those deep, hidden pains that so many of us actually share. Things like rejection, grief, depression, or just feeling worthless. In this right here is the core idea. You don't build a real bridge by talking about the fruits, which can feel judgmental or unrelatable. You connect by being vulnerable about the roots, those common human struggles that pretty much everyone, in some way, can understand. Now, if you're going to approach conversations this way, you have to completely redefine what a successful interaction even looks like, especially when you're facing rejection. Thinking about this question just completely reframes the goal. It's no longer about trying to get a yes in one single conversation. The answer, 7. The research he points to found that, on average, a person needs to hear the message 7 times before they're ready to accept it. Sure, for some it's 3, for others it might be 20, but that average is 7. You see how that changes everything? All of a sudden, a no isn't a failure anymore. It might just be exposure number 2 or number 5. It's a necessary stepping stone on that person's path. Your job isn't always to be the finish line. Sometimes it's just to be part of the journey. So success gets totally redefined. It's not about the outcome. It's not measured by a conversion. Success is measured by one simple thing: obedience. Were you obedient in sharing the message? If the answer is yes, then you were successful. That's it. All that pressure to perform just melts away. All right, for the final piece of this framework, he introduces something he calls a supernatural tool. It's designed to cut through all the noise and make the message feel deeply, undeniably personal to the listener. He calls this the word of knowledge. And it's basically a spiritual gift that gives you a specific, supernatural insight about a person, something you couldn't possibly know on your own. It could be a detail about their past, a secret struggle, anything that makes them feel truly seen and understood. And the way you use it is surprisingly low-key. It's not some big, dramatic proclamation. It's more like taking a simple guess in the middle of a conversation. Hey, this might sound random, but is the number 33 significant to you? If you're right, it can open a massive door. And if you're wrong, you just move on. No pressure at all. And what I love is how brutally honest he is about this. He flat out says he gets it wrong about 90% of the time. 90%. But that 10% where it hits, he says that's when you see lives changed forever. And this really gets to the heart of why this matters. The goal isn't to be right all the time. The goal is just to try. He compares it to a father watching his baby learn to walk. The dad doesn't get mad when the baby falls. He celebrates every single attempt. The joy is in the trying. So ultimately, this whole framework, from switching the story to connecting at the root to redefining success, it really just challenges us to rethink everything. It asks us to trade our fear of being wrong for a passion that's brave enough to just try